Well, I guess spring is officially here now that my allergies are driving me crazy, and Apple just had their spring loaded event where they announced a ton of new products, including colorful iMacs with the M1 chip, new iPad Pros with the M1 chip. We got a new Apple TV 4K with what is hopefully not a god-awful new Siri remote. We got a purple iPhone. Season 2 of Ted Lasso is coming in July. AirTags are finally here. The list goes on. So I wanted to share with you some of my thoughts on today's announcements, including the stuff I'm definitely going to buy and review right here on this channel. My total lack of restraint is your reward, my friend. And some of the things I'm probably not going to buy just yet. I'm going to pass on for now, but should still help with any purchasing decisions you have coming up.
One Tech Mind.
What's up, people? I'm Lance Samoza, the guy with the One Tech Mind, and on my channel, this is where I talk about a little fruit company you may have heard of that had a tiny event today. First of all, I just need to say thank you so much for getting us to over 500 subs. We just passed that milestone. I know there's a lot of new subscribers out there, so welcome to One Tech Mind. Very happy to have you here, and thanks to all of you that have joined me for this journey so far. I'm incredibly stunned and truly grateful for your support and all your feedback. So let's talk about the spring loaded event. I'm going to talk about a few products that really excited me, and in particular one I'm definitely going to be buying and that I'm most excited about. It's the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Now, I'm coming from the 2018 12.9-inch iPad Pro. It's a cellular version. I've absolutely loved this machine, especially when I added Apple's Magic Keyboard to it a couple months ago. And Apple announced updates for both sizes of the iPad Pro today, the 11-inch and the new 12.9, and both of them have Apple's stunning, game-changing M1 system on a chip inside of them. I'm surprised in a way and not in another, because I wasn't sold on the fact that Apple would put the M1 itself that came from the MacBooks directly in the iPad Pros. I thought maybe, they'd harness what they've learned back and forth between the A series system on chips and all of their experience with their own silicon now, and make something, that's tailored for the iPad Pro. But no, that's not what they did. We'll have to wait until official benchmarks come out, and I'm excited to test that as well when I get my hands on mine. I'm going to get the 12.9-inch Wi-Fi only version, I think, because of the price bump, which I'll explain in a second. By introduction of the M1, Apple has effectively removed any and all excuses that still might be out there for why iPad Pro is not a real computer and why developers maybe have not developed truly top-tier professional level apps for it yet. And of course, professional quality apps do exist, like Photoshop and Illustrator, Affinity Designer and Photo. We've got LumaFusion, which is great for video editing, but they're not really top tier and on par with their desktop counterparts. And great example that folks have wanted for a long time, and I would really love to see it too, is Apple's own Final Cut video editing software. That's what I use on my Mac back there. I would love to see it come to the iPad Pro so that I could use it on there as well. They also have 5G support, including mmWave in the US on both models, if you get the cellular version, of course. It is a little bit thicker and heavier thanks to the new display technology Apple is using in the iPad Pro 12.9-inch, which I'm going to get to in a second. The 1TB and 2TB models have 16 gigs of RAM. The others have 8 gigs. The True Depth camera array on the front, which includes the front-facing camera, now has an ultra-wide camera on it as well, which is going to enable something Apple calls center stage. So when you're on a FaceTime call, for instance, using that forward-facing camera, and you step out of frame, the iPad is going to switch to using that new ultra-wide and pan to find you as you move up to a certain distance, I'm sure. And this is going to simulate as if the iPad is actually moving to follow you as you move out of frame of the camera, which is going to be awesome for FaceTime calls, and I'm sure Apple will open up to developers at some point soon as well. The USB-C port now also supports Thunderbolt 3, which is used for really amazingly fast data transfers, and it can power a full 6K display like Apple's Pro Display XDR. But let's talk about the display on the 12.9-inch iPad. Apple's calling it their Liquid Retina XDR display and puts it right on par with their larger professional grade XDR display. They're using new mini LED technology to increase the total amount of LEDs that they can use to comprise the screen. In fact, there's over 10,000 of these little guys. The 12.9-inch screen can accommodate higher brightness levels at 1000 nits compared to 600 in the 11-inch iPad Pro. And when you're using or watching HDR content, that can go even farther to 1600 nits. We're talking super bright. It also supports over 2500 local dimming zones on the screen. This means that when you're watching HDR content, the highlights in your video that you're watching are going to be more vivid than ever compared to the contrasting shadows and midtones. And just to be clear, this new Liquid Retina XDR display is only available in the 12.9-inch version of the new iPad Pro, and it also is $200 more at the base price, starting at $1099 for a measly 128 gigs of storage. So I'm definitely going to pick up the 12.9-inch version again since I love that size, but I think I'm going to get the Wi-Fi only version this time around. I always have my iPhone with me and the automatic hotspot is so seamless. I kind of don't see the point to having a cellular iPad anymore, at least for my workflow. I absolutely can't wait to get my hands on one of these guys and put it through its paces. So you can expect a full review probably early June or so after I've had some time with it. Next up, let's talk about those super colorful M1 powered iMacs. Before the event, I told myself if Apple released this iMac in a 27 or 30-inch version, my wallet was going to be in big trouble. So I'm grateful they didn't announce that size today, but they did announce a 24-inch version, which is right between the current or previous 21.5-inch iMac and the 27-inch 5K iMac like I have right back there. It features a 4.5K screen as opposed to the 5K iMac. The screen has much narrower bezels around it compared to the old iMac design, except for that chin that's still at the bottom there, but with good reason. Apple has fit a 6-speaker system all along that bottom chin, no doubt leaning on their learnings and past experience with HomePod and AirPods Max and computational audio. And I love the new colors. I wish there was an actual red one. The one that looks red is actually pink, but it really reminds me of the old iMac days where Apple was doing something way different than, the sea of beige computers that existed out there. And I think you could argue that Apple's own space gray and silver are kind of becoming the new beige in a sense. So I'm really glad they mixed it up here and are allowing us to, expand our color palettes of our devices. And they even have new color matched accessories now, including a new Magic Keyboard for the iMac that comes with it, and it has an embedded Touch ID sensor. This is something Apple really couldn't do with the old Intel Macs because it required their own custom silicon for security purposes. So now that the iMac has Apple's M1 chip, they can do this wireless Touch ID authentication. Did I mention it's also stupidly thin, coming in at 11.5 millimeters and weighing less than 10 pounds? This thing looks like a gigantic touchless iPad Pro. One of the most amazing things is it starts at $1299, which would be an insane value for just the M1 chip alone, but factoring in all the other improvements, it's an absolute steal. The sad part for me is that $1299 model probably runs circles around my Intel iMac back there that I got last year that was double the price. So as super tempted as I am to pick up this new 24-inch iMac, I really, really want a physically larger screen. So I'm gonna hold out and hope that a 27 or even a 30-inch version comes out maybe later this year. There was a rumor that a 30-inch version was coming, so I'm crossing my fingers really hard for that one. So like I said, the new iMac starts at $1299. It'll be available to order April 30th with delivery starting in the second half of May. Next up is the new Apple TV 4K along with the new Siri Remote. Apple is adding the A12 Bionic chip to it, which should improve performance and speed things up, which I'm glad to see because I think the Apple TV 4K, the current one, can be a little sluggish at times. This change will also allow the Apple TV to play high frame rate 4K HDR content, which may not be universally appealing to everyone. It's not that appealing to me. I'm not going to upgrade to this new 4K Apple TV from my current one. And I think this is really just a spec bump for the most part. And it's really going to appeal to the really hardcore enthusiast AV folks out there. To me, the big story here is really the new Siri Remote that Apple is launching alongside the new Apple TV 4K. Now, I've never had major issues with the current Siri Remote, but the design of it and the placement of the buttons just kind of left a lot to be desired. I feel like Apple could have done better. And that seems like what they are doing here with the new version. We have additional buttons with the Siri button moving to the side of the device, so it's just like the side button on an iPhone or an iPad. They've also added a dedicated power button to turn on your TV and AV equipment, so you don't have to like awkwardly hit the menu button or the actual TV button anymore and change menus while you're turning on your stuff. There's also what's effectively a new D-pad at the top of the remote, so you can actually press buttons to move the cursor around the screen if you want to get some fine-tuned adjustment. And the touch control is still there as well. So if you like using the current Siri Remote to kind of swipe around like it's a trackpad, you can still do that on the new one. And because the pad is circular, Apple's adding a new gesture, so you can fast forward or rewind by going clockwise or counterclockwise with your finger around the outside of the pad. This sounds much more intuitive and exactly is what I meant by I wish Apple could have done the Siri Remote better. It seems like they've really listened to the feedback that's out there and incorporated some new design changes and innovation here. The circular scrubbing gesture also reminds me of my old iPods, which is really cool. And the new 4K Apple TV still starts at a pricey $179 for 32 gigs of storage, and they don't go on sale terribly often, but I would try, if you really want one of these, I would wait a little bit and see if you can get one for, 10, 20 bucks off. That's probably the best you're gonna get. Or wait a few months for them to pop up on the Apple refurbished store. That works too. But there's some good news. If you're hanging on to your current Apple TV like I am, you can get the new Siri Remote for 59 bucks and it'll work with your current Apple TV. Both of these are on sale starting April 30th. So I'm definitely gonna pick up a new Siri Remote for the living room. So I will let you guys know how it works. And the last product I'm gonna talk about is AirTags. This one was rumored and speculated on forever. Whether or not they even actually existed was coming into question with recent leakers and rumors and folks in the Apple community. So they're these cute little white and stainless steel discs that you can use to attach to your stuff and use Apple's Find My network to locate them. The design's really cool and seems like another callback to the early iPod days. So it doesn't seem like you can apply the AirTags directly to something, at least not out of the box. You got to get like some kind of pouch or keychain that's made by Apple. They have a couple of them, or third-party manufacturers. They've announced a few already, in order to put the AirTag inside and then attach that to your bag or whatever other item you want to track. And the Find My network functions by allowing iPhones that have opted into it to securely and privately detect the AirTags of other users and securely and privately notify those users of when and where that tag was located. Now I can understand you might have some concern about your device finding somebody else's stuff and vice versa, but just keep in mind that Apple has been the bastion for privacy when it comes to consumer electronics. It's a core part of their brand, of their products, services, and their hardware. In fact, you should check out the app tracking transparency video I just did, which covers this really important privacy feature and further illustrates my point. And if you do have an iPhone 11 or newer, it'll use the U1 chip inside your phone to guide you physically directly to that AirTag, so you don't just have to rely on finding an audible sound that's pinging. They're also water resistant, and Apple is quoting a 1-year battery life then with a user replaceable battery. And you can also, just like AirPods, custom engrave the AirTags themselves with an emoji or up to 4 characters. One AirTag will set you back 29 bucks, or you can pick up a 4-pack for only 99, which is a much better deal. And that's the pack I'm definitely gonna get when they go on sale this Friday, the 23rd. And although $29 for 1 or $99 for 4 sounds like a pretty good deal, remember, you still can't really apply the AirTags directly to something right out of the box. You gotta buy a little pouch or something else for them to go in to then put on your stuff. So in reality, you're probably gonna spend around 45 bucks at least per AirTag when all is said and done. So just take that into account before you go all in on AirTags, especially if you're switching from Tile or another type of tracking device. I definitely have 4 things I could put my tags on when I get them, so I will definitely do that and let you guys know how it goes. So those are the announcements that really excited me from today's event, but let me know down in the comments what you're looking forward to. Is it the new purple iPhone? Is it AirTags? Is it the new iPad Pro? Let me know what you're going to be picking up as well. I'd love to hear it. So like I said, at some point in the near future, I'll have my hands on the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro with the M1. Can't wait for that. The new Siri Remote for Apple TV. thank goodness, and a set of AirTags. So I'll be able to get a feel for those and do reviews on all of them. So if you have any questions about them in the meantime, also let me know in the comments down below. You can reach out to me on Twitter and Instagram at Starman. If you're not following me there, I'll make sure to leave some first impressions when I get these devices in hand so you can see how that's going. And if I helped you out today or you learned something new, do me a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and don't forget the bell so you don't miss the next set of videos. Also, let me know down in the comments below what you thought of this one and if you have any suggestions for the channel. And until next time, thanks for listening to my One Tech Mind.